Cool. Okay. And I think I mentioned this before, I have to retcon a couple details relevant to Tito after rereading V20 Core and V20 Dark Ages. Thralls to a lower generation vampire can't be dominated by vampires of higher generation. So Tito was unable to actually get into Juan Felipe's mind, and he realized when he tried he simply wasn't responding the same way their kind did. But he is still Tito's prisoner, so he gets effectively the same answer. You don't really learn a whole lot from him. It's just, so far you've not been able to dominate him, and you don't know how intact his memory is. But with that out of the way, we can go ahead and get started. So it's a very dark and gloomy night tonight, setting in over London. Rain is pouring down outside, and the low rumble of thunder can be heard in the distance. We focus in on the estate of Quentin Chamberlain as he is rising for the evening. And Quinn, as you rise, you feel a similar pain in your chest and lungs from the previous night. But as this is a new night, you feel it again, but this is heavier and more expansive. And as soon as you sit up, you feel this need to expel a cough rising up in you. And we turn to Quinn as he is experiencing this pain in his lungs.
Not having the need to breathe, he'll do his best to push that aside. Climb out of his, we'll just say, crypt. And go and prepare himself for what he sees as the ordeal to come.
You take a few steps and you feel the weird sensation again. It's true you do not need to breathe, but there's something compulsory in this, and before long you feel something just expel itself out of you without your control, and you realize you are coughing, and something thick and dark is expelling out of you with these coughs, a mixture of fluid and solid. You've gained an additional level of lethal damage starting this evening.
Seeing that there might be some use to this for the future, Quinn will go ahead and put that into a sealed container for future evaluation. It's not something he's willing to get into, given the fact that he might not have another night.
Alright, and of course everyone will be marking off a point of blood as this a new night. You make your way out of the crypt and upstairs. Where does Quinn mean to go, or what does he mean to do immediately?
Immediately, he's going to go in search of Simon, since they're both being expected at the apothecary.
Alright, we turn and briefly to Simon. You're awaking just a bit earlier than he is. What do we assume we turn to Simon as he arises this night? Feeling quite fine.
Had to rub that in, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Simon, awakening downstairs, looks up at the ceiling for a little while, then a little longer, then a little longer, before finally swinging himself up into a sitting position probably about 15 minutes later. Who knows what was happening deep inside that mind of his? Not even he. Sometimes it wanders where it will. But he looks around the room and realizes another night has come. And he decides to wait a little while, because he knows unless Quinn is dead, he's going to come find him soon.
True enough, before long, you do see that Quinn is searching for you, and he finds you right where he expects.
By now, Quinn's going to start looking a bit gaunt, like he's obviously been foregoing feeding in anticipation. Like, not enough butter spread over too much bread. He wheezes a bit.
Playing it up.
Just milking the sympathy.
You're wasting your time. I don't have any.
Practicing for later. He'll go ahead and haul himself up towards the stairs up to the main floor. We shouldn't keep the physicians waiting.
I have a sense of foreboding.
I will either come out fully healed and treated, dead, finally, or pawn of the Tremere.
I'll do my best to make sure that doesn't happen, but I'm only one man.
When the treatment is concluded, ask me about Mary. If I tell you she'll be fine, then I'll be fine. If I don't answer, assume the worst.
He'll nod and follow Quinn up the stairs.
All right, the two of you make it back to the main floor of the manor house.
Were we ever given a specific time to arrive at the apothecary? I can't recall.
You got the impression that it would begin when you arrived, and that they were assuming you would arrive early in the evening. There was no explicit time.
Well, in that case, Quinn is going to make his best pace. He'll keep a cloth close to his mouth just in case he starts oozing again.
All right, and Simon coming along with?
Indeed, but he will ask as they exit the house. So, if you do die, I know an excellent auctioneer. What do you want done with your things?
They're already bequeathed.
A look passes over his face as if to say that's no fun, but he says nothing further as they leave the house.
Alright, the two of you make your way through the streets of London, the familiar path, back out of the estate, and back towards the Guild of Apothecaries. Do either of you bring anything else up before you arrive and we change scenes?
Not Simon.
Do you know if Tristan looked in the parcel before, when you handed it to him?
He did not, Simon says.
I'll assume he's gotten to it by now.
He's too curious to leave it unopened, I assure you.
As I had hoped. Then Quinn will lead the way inside.
Alright. Two of you make your way into the odd, angular-shaped building as the thunder continues to roll, and you find some respite from the rain inside. We'll change scenes. There we go. Alright, the two of you make your way back into the building, and once again you see that it appears that there are ghoul attendants standing by, and one recognizes you, and you're soon enough led back to Cole Master's office, where he is again sitting right where you left him, behind his desk in this room full of books and bookshelves and a few notes on his desk. And he rises when the two of you enter. Good evening.
Hopefully it improves.
He looks you up and down, studiously and clinically. Indeed. I'll be having you change out of your garments into something more befitting a patient. And he nods to one of the attendants, who presents you with a simple white shift.
Ooh, Simon says. You look so pretty.
Maybe after. Don't imagine I'm quite a sight at the moment.
I've had worse.
I'd ask her name, but he kind of just lets it hang there.
They have names. And he grins.
Precisely. Quinn glances around, not sure if he's about to offend anyone's delicate sensibilities, and begins disrobing.
There's a few ghoul attendants nearby, but you get the impression that they don't care one way or the other.
Quinn spent enough time on board ship to not have any compunctions about disrobing in a room full of adults.
There is one female in attendance, but you've gauged by now that she's likely one of the clanmates of Cole Masters, and she likewise seems not to mind you as you undress and change into this shift.
If there was any doubt that he's not been feeding of late, it becomes readily apparent as soon as his tunic comes off. He's definitely looking gaunt.
And of course, the blindfolds that will be necessary for proceeding. And the ghouls move forward and present look like black knapsacks, or perhaps simple black bags. They're very dark and thick.
So forward. Usually I wait until the third date.
Cole looks stoic.
But otherwise, he's not going to protest.
Neither does Simon. He'll pull it on over his head. Now, this is familiar.
Indeed, you cannot see anything past these bags. They're very thick on the inside. You'd think perhaps suffocating if you had to breathe.
Quinn will go ahead and presumptively extend an arm to be guided wherever in the world it is he's going to be led.
We'll lead you the rest of the way from here. And you feel something take your arm, and Simon, you likewise feel that after being blindfolded, you're led, guided physically by these attendants, presumably, somewhere. And you feel, each of you, 2 sets of hands on your shoulders as you seem to be directed what you have to assume are down halls and eventually down a long staircase. You have to walk for quite some time in utter darkness, during which time none of the attendants speak. But do Simon or Quinn speak up during any of this?
No, but Quinn is going to try and keep a mental note of the route he's taking.
All right.
Approximate number of paces, approximate distance between turns, just in case.
Okay. Eventually, you are brought to a stop, both of you, and you hear what sounds like Cole's voice utter something incoherent, or perhaps in another language, before you hear the swing of doors opening, and you are brought further along. Both of you make a perception alertness roll, difficulty 9. Alright, Quinn, you're continuing along. Nothing immediately strikes you. Simon, you very quickly detect something odd after this pause and after the steps continue. The sound of footsteps is remarkably different. You realize that it's been about halved. That it sounds like there are 2 sets of footsteps going in different directions.
Simon's on high alert. He was anyway. He does remember the night that he died the first time, being led to the gallows in a blindfold, much like this. And now he wonders if he's even with Quinn anymore, or if he's being led elsewhere. He doesn't try to remove the blindfold, but he's suddenly ready to pounce should he need to.
Alright. Quinn, you continue on and you're led. You don't notice any difference in the sounds at all. It's just footsteps, several sets of footsteps, including your own. And finally, you feel yourself guided to the edge of something solid and cold, around waist level, a table or a slab, perhaps. Though you can't see anything, but you hear Cole's voice after a moment. Lie down, if you would, Master Chamberlain.
Quinn will comply, but he's going to pipe up. Quite the party, isn't it, Simon?
Simon doesn't hear anything, and you get no response.
Quinn stops. Lord Masters, you wouldn't be reneging on our arrangement, would you?
Ah, perhaps you mean the prior. No, it occurred to us that we in fact did not need his services for this procedure after all. Of course, he is being kept on retainer should the need arise, but for now we are limiting the hands and cainites exposed to this. Fear not, Master Chamberlain. Simon is well, as you shall be.
That's as well. His primogen knows he's here.
As I said, he is well.
Quinn will go ahead and lay down.
We have improved upon the methods you provided, but I still expect your beast to come forward several times. It is the nature of such a procedure.
This was why I wanted Simon nearby.
Restraints will be required for both your and our safety. Thus, it does not endanger your companion, for he is not here.
Yes, but the Tremor aren't exactly known for their martial prowess, nor are they?
We have done multiple tests. We are confident in the strength of these restraints. And as he's speaking, you feel leather restraints being pulled tightly across you by multiple hands, strapping across your shins and thighs, your abdomen, neck, and arms. You also realize a small incision is being made in your blindfold mask. Just the very smallest kind necessary for a funnel that you suspect is going to be placed in there very soon.
Well, I didn't expect him to try and get the blood in me any other way.
And sure enough, moments later, you do feel a funnel being placed in your mouth for the blood to come. We turn briefly to Simon as we follow him down one of these paths, one of these different paths, as it turns out. Your suspicions were correct, you think, Simon. The difference in footsteps, you hear fewer, and it's been some time since you heard Quinn. And from Simon's perspective, all is black, but you are led physically from here to there and finally stopped, and your blindfold is removed. And you are, in fact, back at the desk of Cole Masters in the Guild of Apothecaries where you started, though Cole isn't there. In front of you are what look like two attendants and the tall and comely but pale woman in a long indigo robe. That is this woman.
Simon looks to her and the two attendants, waiting what they're going to say.
Mr. Simon, it so happens your services in assisting will likely not be needed after all. Your offer is charitable, and you may remain here, awaiting your companion.
If he starts to frenzy, you're going to wish he hadn't.
She seems to maintain a professional smile. I am confident in our methods. Unfortunately, you may not go any further into the chantry for now.
You sound just like fucking Galfred. I didn't like that smarmy look from him either. But fine.
As soon as you say the name, that smile wipes off of her face, and you see the deadly seriousness. As I said, you may stay or go.
I'll just wait here, like you say,
He says, giving a mock bow.
Soon enough, you'll need me and my special skills.
She simply glares at you, just quietly. We transition back to the operating table that Quinn is at. You hear Cole Masters' voice speak up again. We have opiates available as anesthetics, but unfortunately I believe they will pass through your system quickly given the unique qualities of this technique. Fortunately, we have facilitated this process and increased its efficacy. What once took 3 nights should be done by the end of this 1 night.
Is Quinn's mouth full of a funnel right now?
Yes, it's very difficult to speak, if at all.
Get on with her.
I will not lie, this will still be quite painful. And you feel a small blade begin a slow, longitudinal incision along your forearm. And shortly after, more cuts are made along your other arm and along your thighs. And you hear the sound of blood dripping and pouring, being collected into something beneath you. The shuffling of tendons moving around. All is black. You're left only with these sounds. And these sounds go on for some time. And you feel yourself growing hungrier. And the beast is coming closer to the surface. What do we see when we turn and focus in on Quinn as he's enduring the beginning of this procedure?
He's basically using the funnel in his mouth as kind of like a bit, clenching his teeth around it to try and maintain some kind of hold on his senses.
Eventually, you feel the gnawing from inside your body coming to a fervor. It's almost a different kind of pain. The beast inside feels like it's going to leap out of your chest as you become ravenously hungry. You realize you're being nearly starved for blood as this exsanguination continues, as this goes on, and instinctively you feel your fangs come out without even meaning to. Make a self-control roll, difficulty 9. Impressively, you're able to hold it together even through the worst of this first exsanguination. It's remarkable how well you're able to keep this together despite this ferocious hunger that's just ripping away at your insides. And eventually you smell the blood coming closer, and you hear the pouring, and then the cold taste of old blood, with a hint of other herbs mixed in, and this floods in from the funnel into your mouth. And it tastes absolutely awful, but it's certainly not the oldest blood you've ever tasted. How is Quinn handling this, and where is he at mentally with this?
Quinn is going to basically suckle on the funnel like a teat. Mentally, he's trying to be as reserved as possible, but the beast is a ravenous thing.
This old animal blood fills you up. It's thick and soggy, and indeed a couple times you almost gag on its rancid, herb-filled flavor, but you have great self-control in this moment, and you're able to keep it down. And when you are sated and you're given some brief respite, the process just begins again in a horribly painful and slow process, and this continues on for hours and hours. And at this point we fade. The scene fades as we leave Quinn to this, and we switch to a different part of London. And we will turn to... let's turn to Tito Vega as you're waking up for the evening. What are your plans overall for this night as an overview?
Well, first, Tito is curious, what does the letter say?
Of course, the letter. So the 3 letters you have, 2 sealed and 1 unsealed, having finally on this night just finished the deciphering. The letter says a few things, but some of it is broken up, and you don't get a full message. So I think what I'll do is, in Marco Vespucci's voice, you will hear what you do get, and then I'll explain what parts get blocked in between. So, quote, instruct Stratford to tap Crosby for... And then it becomes blurred by ink. The message is impossible to read until it continues. Then lie low and... something garbled, you can't get the next part, but it continues again. Including your child. There's another interruption that you can't get the beginning of this next sentence, but you catch the last few words. Weeks remain now. And it is signed V. That is the entirety of the letter. It's very short. And I can, of course, repeat any of that if you need me to.
So, Stratford and who else?
The beginning says, instruct Stratford to tap Crosby for something.
Crosby. Is Tito familiar with this name?
He is not. You recognize Stratford as in Bishop of London, Stratford.
And the other 2 letters,
The other 2 letters are sealed. You mean to break the seal?
May as well at this point.
Alright. The first one is addressed to Lady Eleanor Grey. It expresses sympathy over her recent assault by the Nosferatu, and thankfulness for her return to court. And it's inviting her for dinner soon. He also thanks her for her support. The second sealed letter that you open up is addressed to Cole Masters, the Tremere. And it describes his appreciation for his backing and promises a return of status for Clan Tremere. It also discusses his interest in his ongoing research with the plague and what progress the Tremere might have made in treating it.
Well then, these 2 letters shall not be meeting their destination. Unfortunately, the coded one is not useful at this time. Not too useful. Well, Tito's plans this night, first he's going to go out hunting.
Alright. In the domain of the La Sombra, I assume? Alright. And how is he meaning to go about hunting?
He'll wander the streets, look for someone alone, keeping note of cleanse and guard presence if they're still strong.
The clan's presence has noticeably declined in this last week, but there are still a significant number of patrols there really has just been a noticeable increase ever since the attack on the tower. So it's difficult, but not quite as difficult as it has been. I'll give you a wits, alertness, difficulty 7. It's no good right now. There's just a few too many groups of people. You can't find anybody you can really single out. No good opportunities arise as you try and search. What else does Tito hope to accomplish this evening?
He needs to speak with Bella Matteo.
Alright. You mean to go to Elysium or her manor?
He'll try... He'll try Elysium first.
Alright. We'll break from Tito and we'll switch to Abel. Abel, as you're rising, of course it's a new night, so mark off a blood point. What does Abel mean to do as he begins this night? What are his plans for the night in general? It still shows him online.
Yeah, he's still on there. While we're waiting for him to return, just confirming the herbal taste in the blood. That's Quinn's anticoagulant concoction, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
You
Just making
recognize
sure.
that? There he is.
Abel would like to wander the city a bit, particularly the areas he was told where Vernon keeps his havens, or at least keeps his orphan retainers.
Absolutely. You were given a general idea of the haunts that he is known to have. Unfortunately, he has many, and he is, as Tristan described, very difficult to find. So, going to... Let me open your character sheet really quick. Go ahead and do a perception investigation. Difficulty is going to be 7. After you have, let's say, 5 successes, you will have thoroughly searched his haunts, the places you've been told he has frequented. Each roll can be an hour's worth of effort, so I'll leave it to you how long you want to spend on that. Alright, so you've got 4 successes after the first 2 hours. There you go. It takes you a full 3 hours, but you've managed to dig through the expansive number of havens and hiding holes that Vernon has been described as having, and you finally come across one of these such havens. It's a tenement building. It's one of the old run-down areas. We'll change scenes as you make your way over there. Alright, Abel, you are digging through one of these slums through London. You've been searching for hours and hours. You've checked multiple havens, multiple places, and you're coming to the close on one of the last havens. You're actually poking around in one of these tenement buildings when you think you see some movement in the shadows. In this tenement building that you're poking around in, that you're looking through, you see that it's very messy. It's filled, the entire building inside is filled with clutter and what you think maybe is trash, but perhaps to some people it might be treasure. It's a hoarder's treasure trove in this in this tenement building, you actually think that perhaps the upper floors have been cleared out to make up more room for more of this trash. And it's actually very difficult to walk around in. And you're moving through this when you hear some movement and see a figure move from one pile to the next. What do we assume we turn to Abel as he's digging through here?
Well, firstly, Abel would be obfuscated if that's at all possible to move through here obfuscated.
You can try, it's just going to be difficult. It's just so cluttered that to remain hidden and stealthy and not interact with anything, just kind of hanging around or dangling. I'm going to have you do a dex stealth or wit stealth. I'm blanking on the roll to maintain your obfuscate. Look really quick, I have it in front of me. I'll have you do wit stealth. Difficulty 7. You are able to keep it together. You manage to dip under hanging strings of trash that are held together. It almost looks like a preventative field, as if someone was trying to keep people from moving in without touching anything, as if they expect somebody to pass through here would have to touch one of these things. But you're able to move nimbly about.
Well, when Abel notices this shadow leaping from one pile of trash to the other, he'll stop and focus his eyes in on the area, trying to determine if it is anything significant. Approximately how big is the shadow?
The shadow moving around is about humanoid size. You didn't catch a very good glimpse of it.
And I can no longer see it now.
No, it was just really a blur of an image. It looked like a figure, humanoid in shape, that moved from behind one trash pile, behind another one. You heard the movement and you saw a blur.
He will pause for a moment then and observe the situation for a few ticks of the clock's hand. And if nothing moves, he will approach gingerly, stepping over and through the trash minefield.
You wait a few more moments, and then you hear footsteps, and it sounds like it's moving through trash. You can hear the clanging and clattering of pans and other items being moved out of place as someone moves through these fields of garbage and random knickknacks. And you actually hear the sound of steps on floorboard going upstairs, though you can't see the staircase yet.
Abel will continue through the mountains to try and find the staircase leading upstairs.
Alright, to make your way through these treacherous trash mountains and towers of chairs and furniture without breaking your obfuscation, make another wit stealth roll, same difficulty 7. Yeah, you're keeping it up right along. You're very able to maintain your focus on the items. You almost step on a few discarded blankets that were hiding some metal objects, some candelabras and candlesticks, but you dodge it and you make your way, and you're at the foot of the staircase just in time to see the figure again as he's disappearing around a corner at the top. They did seem hunched over, you did notice that.
What were they? Were they just in a black cloak? Were they in pants and a tunic, or?
It looked like an old raggedy robe of some kind. It looks gray and tattered. You didn't get a very good look at it again. You just saw this kind of old, dusty, dark gray robe kind of hunched over and moving out of sight.
Abel will look at the stairs to see if any of them look weaker. Clearly this has been well laid out, so he's expecting some sort of trap.
Sure, make an perception investigation difficulty 8. It looks fine to you. You're pretty certain that nothing is wrong with these stairs.
Well, then Abel will slowly make his way up. From the outside of the building, how many floors does this building look to have?
3.
All right, then he will head up to the second floor.
Alright, give me one moment. I'm gonna roll something. Alright, you make it up the staircase, and nothing seems to actually cause any extra sound. You don't trip or fall or anything. You make it to the second floor, and you see as you turn the corner that a very similar scene, that this whole space on the second floor has been cleared out or filled to the brim, depending on your perspective, with more items, more collections of, apothecary tools. You think you see a suit of armor perhaps in here, stacks of blankets, stores of old food, most of it bad, you suspect, from the smell.
Do I see a shadowed figure in a gray robe?
Not yet.
Then Abel will continue his pursuit of this figure. This is the first person he's found in any of these multiple havens he's searched?
Correct. Alright, same thing. To make it through these paths, go ahead and do another, what did I say? Wit stealth? I want to be consistent.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, same roll. You're realizing as you're going along that you're correct. This is laid out. This is very intentionally made in a way to make it difficult to maintain your obfuscate and still traverse this. But you're able to do it. You're keeping it together. You have a pretty good eyesight on the trash you're moving through, and you're moving along. And along your path, you actually stop as you do see the figure. When you pass around one of these mounds of trash, you see the figure has stopped, and it is the same old tattered gray robe figure that is hunched over right now and looks like they're looking through a pile, one of these many piles, and they're digging. You can hear the sound of things as they kind of topple over this pile. They don't seem to have noticed you yet at all.
Does the figure seem to be breathing, or trying to determine if it might be a cainite?
Perception awareness, difficulty 8. This dark light, they're hunched over. There's not a lot to go on. Yeah, you can't tell for sure. There's not a lot to go on right now. They're hunched over. It's hard to see.
All right, so this is sort of like turned up, like trying to imagine what this room looks like in my mind. Is it like a path zigzagging through, and he's sort of off on like a side path that just ends at the wall?
Very close. It's this one large floor that's mostly cluttered with impassable mounds of trash, but clear paths have been made, and you're going along this path, and he's further along, so it's almost like a hedge maze of trash, if you will, and you found him along this path, stopped.
Okay, so the path continues
Past
in front
him.
of him.
Yes.
All right, Abel is going to observe and see if he can't figure out what he's looking for or what he does end up taking from this pile of trash. In saying that, he will try to position himself in a way that he isn't in the middle of the path in case this person decides to come back this way.
Alright, you see that he's sitting there kind of fiddling through trash for a long time, and you just hear a sigh after a moment, a haggard sound, as he rises and turns indeed to go back your way, and you finally get a good look at him as he's heading in your direction. And you see... Why is this not... There we go. You see this man, as he turns, you see the cuts and the open wounds on his face. You see these hairless, his skin is green and mottled and wrinkled in such a way that nothing ever should wrinkle. There's gouges all across him, and he's clearly of the Nosferatu clan at the very least, and he's walking right by you.
All right, so he's able to get past me without detecting me?
Have you do a wit stealth standard difficulty to make yourself out of the way. It's a narrow path, but you have the time to get yourself out of the way. Yeah, you're able to lean back a bit without really touching any of the piles of trash as he passes by you on this narrow path, and you get a good whiff of him. He doesn't smell that great, but he doesn't smell that terrible. You suspect it's really just because he lives here. He's kind of gotten the smell of all this trash on him.
All right, Abel would like to follow closely at his heels. Ideally, he doesn't want to confront Vernon in his haven, as that's rude. So he'll see where he's going.
All right. He continues back the way he came, and he goes back downstairs, and I'll spare you the rolls since I think I've had you do like 10 rolls now, and you're clearly being pretty stealthy about this. You realize that he's probably not going anywhere for the immediate future. He seems to be idly looking through piles and then moving things around, moving things to other piles. He never actually goes up to the 3rd floor, you find, but right now it doesn't seem like anything's going to change immediately.
When he's on the 1st floor closest to the door, however, Abel entered the home, if you can call it that, Abel will position himself in front of the door, but on the inside, and then call out to him if this situation occurs.
You have to wait about half an hour for something like that to happen, but you find an opportunity, and you're in front of the door you came in, and you see that he's within sight of the front door, not too far along this trash path.
Okay. Then Abel will just call out, letting his obfuscate drop and showing his onyx smooth skin. Yeah, Vernon?
Ah, who are you? Where did you come from? you see him startle and fall back into one of these piles of trash, and he's backing up quickly, pushing at his legs, pushing into the trash pile, which is toppling down onto him.
Herr Vernon, I do not mean to alarm you. Please, come forward. I am a prior like yourself.
Yes, where did you come from? Tristan sent you, didn't he? Yes, he sent you. You're here to kill me, aren't you? You'll not catch me. And he gets up. He's clearly panicked, and he rises quickly, and he starts to run down the trash path away from you.
Herr Vernon, 9, I'm not here to kill you. I'm here to help you. And then I will chase after him.
Make a charisma, empathy roll. Well, let me think. Is it empathy or expression? I'll go charisma, empathy, difficulty 8. He's panicked. He doesn't know how he got in here.
What is the penalty for not having empathy?
It's a talent, so none. It's just a straight attribute.
I would like to spend a willpower on this, if I may.
You may do that. No, 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 you won't fool me. I'm not being caught. Not this time. Tristan won't get me. And you just hear this as the sounds of trash keeps falling down as he's running through it. And he keeps going. He's going upstairs, clearly.
Vernon, I'm not here to hurt you. And then continue after him. I'm here to help. The Priors, we are organizing.
He's run up to the second floor. You can try again. It's going to be at a higher difficulty, though.
No, I won't roll and spend another willpower, but we'll try and follow him.
Okay. He's easy enough to follow now that you're in here and you're chasing him through the trash fields. And the paths you've become pretty familiar with now at this point. And you follow him until he's running up the second staircase, actually back to what you suspect is finally the third floor. And he stops, and you see, I assume Abel's following him the whole way.
Yes.
You see, as he's going up the second staircase, that the third floor is actually boarded off. It's something like a trap door, and he's stopped. He's got out this big ring of keys, and he's fumbling with them, and he's trying to unlock it quickly. Come on, damn it. One of these keys had to work. Stay back with you.
Man, brother, I told you I did not want to hurt you.
Why are you here then? How did you find me and why are you here?
I told you, I'm here to help you. We're trying to help everybody.
I can't hear you too well. It sounds like there's a lot of like air or wind feedback, like you're outside or there's a fan on you or something.
Is this any better?
That's better.
Now I have to remember what I said. Mein Bruder, I'm not here to hurt you. We're organizing to help all of us. Please, think of the mountains of trash you could have.
He finally stops with the keys, seeing that he has nowhere to go and you're not immediately attacking him, but he's still kind of backed up. He's basically sitting down across these stairs, backed up against the trap door, which is closed. Organizing. But whom? Did Tristan send you? I don't understand.
Yeah, Vernon, I am here of my own accord. I'm new to London, and the state of the priors in this city is, well, it should bring great shame to us all.
He still looks very anxious and concerned. I don't understand. If Tristan didn't send you to kill me, I'm new to the city. The state... What do you know of the state of the priors here? I'm confused.
I have been informed that the priors in the city have been made a mockery of, are down to a handful. They have no major domain. Here, please meet with me again tomorrow in a place where perhaps you would feel more comfortable and less like I am invading your home.
No, I will not be lured out. I will not be lured out. I've hidden this long. Tristan has not found me yet, and he will not find me. He will not lead me to him.
Very fine then. Perhaps, do you know a prior named Simple Simon?
Once. He left a long time ago. Hasn't been back. So far as I know. I have been under here.
Yeah, Vernon, he has returned. And we, like I said, are trying to elevate the entirety of the clan. If we could come back here, or a place of your choosing, on the morrow, it would just be the three of us.
I should make a perception empathy roll really quick. Difficulty 6.
I'm sorry, can you just roll that for me? I closed out accidentally.
Yes, I can do that. Just open your character sheet and roll something for him. Alright, you don't really get much when he talks about Simon. It sounds like he genuinely has been down here. He really doesn't know anything more about where he's been. And what did you say after that?
I'd ask if he would meet, either if I bring Simon here or if he chooses a location.
Make another charisma empathy roll. Maybe difficulty 7. Oh, that's right, you're not here. I'll roll for you.
I got it.
Perhaps. What do you wish to speak about since you've made it this far?
Mein Bruder, I want to discuss what it is you want. I want to help you.
I can't imagine that's possible.
But it only makes sense. We are just as strong as our weakest member.
No, not because of you or Simon. If Tristan finds me, he'll kill me.
Why would he do that?
You are new to the city. Perhaps you were not here for that attack on Elysium. Harper told me all about this. It's bad. What is your name?
Oh, how rude of me. I am Abel. You said Harper told you of the attack on Elysium?
Yes, Harper's been my only contact since everything went south.
And why would Tristan think that this attack on Elysium is your fault?
Harper reported that to me. You see, months ago, I had one of my contacts out in the parishes out west. I hadn't heard from him in some time. I asked Harper if he had seen my ghoul, Marcel, but he told me at first he wasn't finding anything, but then he found Marcel, and Marcel informed him of the attack to come. He informed him of the growing problems out in the west, in the parishes. He seems to be looking off in thought, kind of fiddling with his hands nervously, remembering. And anyway, Harper told Tristan. Tristan dismissed it, apparently, and then he told Marcel to return to me, but Marcel never came back. And the next night, Elysium was attacked. Harper told me that Tristan cast the blame on me for failing to report this with my contacts in the parish. And then he told me that Tristan had been hunting me. He meant my destruction to conceal his own hiding of the evidence. Tristan meant for that attack. He let it happen. Vernon gave him the evidence, and Tristan turned it away. Don't you see? I don't know why, but I think Tristan is part of some conspiracy. He let that attack happen. The cainites died, and then I got blamed for it.
Yeah, Vernon, I understand that this might be a difficult situation for you, but I do not believe that you are being hunted.
Oh no?
Do not worry. I will divulge that I have found you to nobody. But please, I am sure that Simon will know more of the local cainites. They are not.
I didn't hear any of the last thing you said. It's all wind.
I will not divulge your whereabouts to anybody, but please do meet with Simon and I on the morrow. He knows more of local cainites, and I'm sure he can put your mind at ease.
No. You bring him here. You bring him here. I will speak to him.
That is all I ask, Ale Vernon. We shall come on the morrow and knock at the door.
Very well, he says, writhing his hands together, still crumpled up against the ceiling.
Is there something I can bring you?
Well, many things, actually. But, no, for now, perhaps if this is my chance, I feel trapped, like a rat. I cannot leave. Surely you know of the creature that lurks outside London. It keeps me penned in here, while Tristan keeps me from showing my face in the city. If there's a chance to come out of hiding, do that for me.
I do not know of the monster you speak of outside of London, but As I said, I am here to help you.
Well,
I will...
I suppose if you were going to kill me, you attacked by now.
Mein Bruder, I couldn't kill you. I don't think I could kill anybody.
Very well then. Inform Simon.
Very good. Abel will bow as much as you can bow on a set of stairs and head back down, turn the corner, and re-obfuscate himself.
Alright, he continues to hide up there, away from you, despite his words. But you make your way out through his hedge maze of trash and back outside.
Abel will watch the house to see if he does leave for a few hours anyways.
He does leave after a few... You said you're waiting for a few hours?
Yeah, he's got nothing else on the docket he wanted to do this evening, so...
Okay, you do see him leave eventually.
Abel will follow him until he obfuscates himself, or as far as he thinks he can still return.
You don't get to follow him very far without any extreme tracking. He quickly obfuscates himself once the door opens and closes, and he makes his way off in the night some direction. You quickly lose track of where he is.
Very well. How much longer is left in the night?
It took you about 3 hours to find him, and you wait another 3 hours. So I would say maybe 4.5 hours, maybe.
Abel might pop into Elysium.
Alright. We will change scenes. We will follow Tito as he makes his way into Elysium. Tito, you're entering Elysium. You're passing through this cloth screen. You enter once more. And who is Tito hoping to find tonight?
Tito will look around and see who is here.
Sure, let me go down the list again. You see that, at least for the moment, it looks like Prince Ambrose is here. He's speaking with the newly appointed Bruja Primogen Alexander Hitchcock. Let's see here. The sheriff is in attendance. Sheriff Jack Timbers, of course. You do see Ellen Alice, as well as Robin Oliver. Your sire is not present at the moment. Let's see here. No Malkavians. Helen is in attendance. You recognize Caleb Esquire, the ventured child of Genevieve. And of course Rebecca Godfrey, Keeper of Elysium, as well as Isaac Lavelle and Lady Eleanor Gray of the Toreador, and Charles Wright, who hasn't been in Elysium much. He's returned, and he seems to be among Lady Eleanor Gray's crowd again. And that is all you see. You know, a mixture of a few neonates you don't recognize, you don't really meet with, but those are the names of people you've met that you see.
Tito will speak with the sheriff.
The sheriff looks like he's standing off idly, not too far from the prince. He's kind of leaning up against a wall with his large hulking shoulders, but he sees you approach and nods. Keeper?
Sheriff, how fare these nights?
Better, perhaps, than others. There's still a tension in the city. At least those goddamn cleanse seem to be quieting down for now. How goes your progress?
I've come across a few mysterious names. No clues as to how they could be tied together.
Names such as?
A Vatic.
He stares at you blankly.
It's about as much as I know.
Nothing else on this plague business? Nothing else looking worse than it did?
Source of the plague is still a mystery, but I believe Quinn has made some progress in that aspect. For a cure, at least.
Well, I have nothing for you right now. Let me know if you end up needing resources.
I'll stay in touch as soon as I find something worthwhile.
He nods and seems to go back to leaning against the wall. Seems to have not much else to say to you.
Tito will depart from him.
You do see that Ellen Alice has caught your eye, or rather, you've caught her eye, and she gestures to you. She's sitting with Helen and... oh, I don't think I said Bella Matea is there. Maybe I did, maybe I did not. But Bella Matea is in attendance, and most of her harpies and socialites are with her, Ellen among them. But Ellen rises, seeing you, and gestures for your attention.
Sure, is Robin still in the area?
He is.
Yeah, why not? Tito will heed Ellen's beckoning.
She leads you over to one of the alcove booths and sits down. And she waits to see if you'll sit down.
Tito will take a seat as well.
What does Tito look like? Is he showing apprehension, or is he maintaining a placid face? What do we see when we turn to Tito?
Tito's does look troubled, like there is much on his mind, as he thinks of ways to get further in this investigation. He is giving Ellen a questioning look, wondering what she has.
She has a serious expression, but as you sit down, she softens a bit. Good evening. Thank you for joining me. I'm glad to have caught you, at least for a moment. You seem troubled by something.
I am. Curious things are happening.
Curious things as in...
With the assault on Elysium, the cleanse has gone down considerably because of my capture of Father Juan Felipe. So at least that has improved. The plague is still as rampant as ever.
That's actually why I wanted to speak with you regarding the cleanse. I have continued to keep contacts among them since my time within their ranks. They have been in disarray lately with no clear leader. But right now, 3 of Father Juan Felipe's lieutenants are contesting whom should lead in his stead.
Are they now?
She nods solemnly. I fear none of these men will be any less ruthless than Father Felipe, but I thought you might want to know that this is happening. Perhaps keep it on your mind, at least.
Could be useful. Do you have their names?
Yes, in fact, I do. Crosby Gold, Alfred Lancashire, and Timothy Castile. They each held senior positions in Father Felipe's service, and each have many members devoted to them. There's no clear leader yet. Perhaps it's better they continue to bicker for now.
And these men, where do they frequent? That have individual houses? Would you have that kind of information?
Taverns, brothels. I do not have the individual homes.
Ah, well, you've done well giving me names to go after.
Make another intelligence enigmas roll. Standard difficulty. It occurs to you, as she lists the first name, Crosby Gold. Crosby was the name in the letter that you decoded.
Yep.
I'll keep my ear to the ground, so to speak.
I appreciate any further information you gather. This has actually been helpful in helping me piece together a clue.
She nods and smiles once before looking out to the crowd. You can see that sitting nearby the prince is Robin Oliver again, and you get that glimpse of your nightmare once more. It just flashes through your mind briefly.
Tito frowns.
Is something else on your mind?
Nothing you need to concern yourself with.
Very well. You can always trust me if you need someone to speak to, of course.
Of course. I do have a question for you, though.
She looks like she was about to rise, but she stops.
What else have you been getting up to these nights?
She raises an eyebrow, looking at you. How do you mean?
innocent question. I wonder actually how much you adhere to Robin's path, or perhaps you take your sire's interests. I speak, of course, abyss mysticism.
She frowns mildly and looks down. I'll be honest, I was never cut out much for Juliet's teachings. Robin saw to my secular upbringing, and it just feels more normal. The abyss, as you call it, it's just darkness to me. I do not understand how it is unique. It is merely a power given to us through our vitae. She kind of shakes her head, looking down, and then her eyes look up to you.
Perhaps it is wise to not question from where our power comes. For certainly we do tap into another realm.
Of course. Of course. She says, looking a little bit uncomfortable.
I did not mean to cause you discomfort. I merely wanted to know what you thought of this.
I can't say much has changed since my embrace. I never adopted the ideologies of Juliet. Robin told me that they were unnecessary, and, well, I internalized that, I suppose.
Pity.
Do you ever question that your path, this code you follow, that you and Juliet follow, that you only follow it because you knew nothing else to grasp onto, that she was there to subjugate you into this mindset early on? Where would you be if she had not done such?
Elsewhere, I suppose. It's not like I dislike the forceful hand. She has guided me upon a path to a certain truth, I believe.
If you say so. I just hope that she does not make use of it to leverage you in ways that benefit her. I can say at the very least that Robin has afforded me a great deal of independence of my own thought. It's never forced anything else to replace what I believed.
That seems kind of him.
She looks out to the crowd towards Robin briefly. I suppose. I simply never considered it a great kindness until I saw how you changed from the time of your embrace to now.
I am on but the precipice of a new path.
But, Tito, look at you. You are ravaged by the beast. It's clear as day in your face. Is this healthy? Is this right? Is it good for you to be so close to this monster?
Safe, no, but pain molds us and makes us more. That is what I found.
She looks at you with a bit of fear, as though she's intimidated. Very well. I shall keep you no longer.
But of course, farewell.
And she nods and forces a smile again before departing. What does Tito mean to do with the remainder of the night now?
Tito needs to speak with Bella.
Alright. Ellen actually returns to Bella's table, and she's sitting there with her harpies. Helen, Rebecca, everyone seems to be in attendance. They're all sitting, chatting. Occasionally hear laughter. But she's as open as you suspect she will be.
Greetings, Bella.
Tito Vega. What can I do for you this evening?
I have a bit of information for you. Perhaps we could make an exchange.
An exchange with you? Of course. And she bats her eyelashes and rises from her lounge seat. The other three not really speaking as this exchange goes on. Bella seems to be following you.
And Tito will go to an alcove.
So, what are we exchanging?
First, I must let you know that Marco Vespucci apparently owned the Haven of the Good Doctor, gave it away to him. I suspect he is helping the Doctor hide.
What was once a wry smile across her face has diminished into something of a serious look, almost a glare. Interesting information you've come across. I won't ask how you got that, but if it's true, what do you intend to do about it?
For now, I need a way to keep eyes on Marco. Perhaps he will lead us to the Doctor. I suspect I've met the Doctor once as he was disguised. Unfortunately, circumstances could not allow me to make this revelation upon him.
I see. So the Good Doctor is in hiding, and perhaps Marco Vespucci is hiding him.
Yes, there's a strong possibility of that.
And where do I play into this exchange of yours? She's kind of reclining back.
You are resourceful in getting followers. I see that clearly. The party you've gathered for me have been quite competent. Perhaps you know of anyone else who could look into this.
Tito, I appreciate your following up, but in all honesty, I have mostly moved on. It is not something of my fancy to fixate upon such things. I have loved and lost, and I have no need for another mortal enemy. Just as looking off into the crowd, you think perhaps towards Eleanor Gray. I'll make a roll for her. Roll perception, empathy. You don't detect anything out of the ordinary from what she's saying.
You know, Marco does seem to be intent on reaching out to Eleanor Gray.
That does raise her eyebrows a bit. Is that so? My, you are full of things to exchange.
That I am. Were not Marco behaving so suspicious, I would think little of it, but his recent increase in prestige has me concerned.
Well, it is well warranted. He did do us a great service in reducing the tension of the city, helping the Masquerade.
Yes. He delivered me, the leader of the cleanse, quite easily. Perhaps too easily.
And so now, he is aiding Eleanor in some way, you suspect?
Eventually, he is definitely seeking her counsel. Perhaps to bring both to a higher status.
Well, I must say he has some poor taste in women, then. But I can't say that is enough to rouse my anger. Still, you have done well by me in the past. What is it precisely you wish? You wish for dear Lord Vespucci to be followed? Or what?
No, I don't believe so. If I get you a list of his contacts, perhaps those people could be investigated. I don't
Perhaps so.
suspect much would be gained from just simply following around Marco.
She nods once. Well then, you know where to find me when you have this list of contacts, and perhaps we can continue this exchange. Or perhaps you might consider exchanging in my manner.
Delightful invitation.
The door is always open, she says with a flashing a smile.
Oh, and by chance, do you happen to know the lore of the kindred around here? I've run into a name, Black Levi. Does that name mean anything to you?
Oh, of course. Black Levi of legend. The vampire, they say, stopped Adam in his tracks with but a hand. The one Adam could not bring under his boot and heel. There are a few interesting legends around that individual. Why do you ask?
Why, he has shown himself to me, or at least one claiming to be him.
Now that sounds like an interesting story, and I do love an interesting story.
Well, it was a dark night at the ruins of the burned down Elysium. He spoke to me of who may be seeking to cause turmoil in our city. The sire of Prince Adam, actually. A Vatic.
She brings a hand to her chin, listening.
I have already spoken with the other Ventru. They've made no signs of actually knowing who this Vatic was. Apparently he is a well-kept secret.
So Black Levi told you that Adam's old sire is causing problems for the city?
Yes, though it does not make sense to me. Assuming his sire was still living and vengeful with the death of his 2 children, why plague this city?
Why indeed? Interesting.
Perhaps it is this Black Levi who is not to be trusted. But do, tell me your thoughts.
I can't say I have any intelligent thoughts on the matter, my dear. It's an interesting story, but, this Black Levi revealing this to you. I don't know what to make of it. What did he seem like?
Dark, imposing, mysterious.
Ooh, my favorite. Well, I will tell you one thing, my dear. You should not fully trust any cainite. Not even me, she says, batting her eyelashes.
Ah, of course. Words of wisdom.
Of course, we've had good relations in the past. You have nothing to fear from me. As for this Black Levi, well, if he is more than a legend, I'd be very interested in what kind of deals he would exchange in.
That I would. I would want to know what makes such an ancient creature tick.
Or induce such a plague, if one could do such a thing.
Yes, well, thank you for your time. Like I said, I will be in touch.
Oh, but I hope you do touch, she says with another smile, and then rising to leave.
At this, Tito just offers a dark smirk as he too prepares to leave.
Alright, and at that we will change scenes away from Elysium. We return to the inside of the Chantry somewhere as Quinn is enduring hours upon hours of these transfusions, of this treatment, still tied down to the slab. Quinn, it's been going on non-stop, and the pain is sometimes what you think is unbearable, and there are several times where you are again tested and the beast comes forward. Make 2 more self-control rolls for the remainder of the night. Both are difficulty 9, to see how well you're handling this marathon of hunger and fighting the beast. You hold out for an impressive amount of time before the beast inevitably comes forward, as Cole expected, and you immediately frenzy, and you pull and push at the restraints, and somewhere internally, Quinn, as you watch, like a spectator to the beast taking over, you feel the many hands coming to restrain you, and you think at one point perhaps the restraints actually will break, but they hold, just barely perhaps during this time, until you feel the quenching of your thirst as this blood is poured down quickly. But given that you have succumbed to frenzy, you will be rolling your conviction for path roll. The difficulty will be 9 here.
I can't remember. Can I spend willpower on virtue rolls?
No, unfortunately not.
That's what I thought.
You feel yourself slipping down away from the path that you have chosen. What do we see when we turn to Quinn as he's enduring these frenzies and dealing with this mentally?
He really thought he had it. Does the slaking of the beasts quiet it at all? Does he come out of the frenzy once the blood hits him?
It takes a few moments, almost a minute, as you are sated and the beast is fed. It takes some time before you feel less of a spectator and more in control again. You feel like you have the sensation again. You have your mind back.
He's kind of just suffering through it. He's in just mute acceptance.
As I said, this continues on. You'll have one more self-control roll, difficulty 9, as you continue on through this torturous treatment. This time you're able to keep it together better. But you are able to hold on. And it's an admirable recovery. And despite the draining, the enervating effects of being exsanguinated and then regenerated, you're able to keep it together. And after hours upon hours, in those brief moments of respite, you have enough clarity for a cohesive thought, and you have to imagine much of the night must be over when finally, during this thought, it seems like a change is occurring. There's a change in the cycle, and there hasn't been a change since you began. This is the first time anything has changed, which perhaps is a relief and perhaps not. But you realize that the transfusions and the cutting has stopped. The sounds of attendants shuffling around you ceases after this most recent feeding. No cuts being made. And after a few minutes of this, you feel the funnel come out of your mouth. We turn to Quinn for the first time. He's able to speak again after hours upon hours of this grueling torment.
Can I assume that he has full blood pool?
Yes.
Is the pain in his chest gone?
The pain is gone.
The black humors. Have they run clear?
You hear quiet whispering somewhere off in a corner, and then you hear a few footsteps, individual steps of boots on stone tile, and you hear Cole Master's voice. Indeed, it seems much progress has been made. You're looking much better, Master Chamberlain. I do not detect any signs of foreign toxin in your humors, and your skin appears to have cleared from the marks. This latest bloodletting looks perfectly clean.
You'll pardon me if I don't share your optimism.
Of course, as the patient, I do not expect immediate feelings of improvement. I imagine some of the damage will remain, though I am certain you have been treated entirely for this disease.
Quinn is going to go ahead and spend 2 blood points to heal the lethal damage, just in case.
You're able to. The latent aching from those wounds that you were feeling otherwise, whatever was left of that pain disappears. And you feel completely fine, except for the burn on your neck, of course.
How can I be sure I'm not still infectious?
You're silence for a few moments. I am certain. If that is not sufficient for you, I apologize, but the treatment has concluded. Perhaps in time you will come to find that you are or are not infected, but I have the confidence that you are not.
And if you're wrong, will you replace my herd?
Very well, Master Chamberlain. If you do not believe me, I will replace your herd.
I'll expect that in writing on the morrow.
And as the two of you are speaking, you feel the straps around you start to loosen, finally. As one by one, you are freed from the restraints and cleaned off, and you are helped up by guiding hands which bring you to the edge of this operating table, and you're being stood up, though the blindfold remains. A few more minutes and we'll have you ready to be on your way.
Quick question, just for my own peace of mind. Do I have any different feelings towards Coal Masters at all?
You do not.
Oh, okay.
You do feel the hands around you that are escorting you quite abruptly back in some direction, perhaps the way you came from. Does he try to speak up at all, or is he content to be escorted?
He'll allow them to lead him.
You're escorted along, and soon enough, you are brought back, or at least Simon, you see a familiar face return, and finally your blindfold is removed. Quinn, true to his word, Cole Masters has returned you to the library office, and you see that he is present along with this pale woman, along with several attendants in long black robes. Congratulations on your newfound health, Master Chamberlain. You endured better than I thought you might.
Never let it be said that the Bree are easily overcome.
I, for one, am glad you're back. I couldn't keep her hands off of me.
He looks over to the woman in the long robe.
She glares.
You are
She's a
quite,
feisty one.
and you are quite the comely fellow.
I did find your research quite well put together. Perhaps you will return one evening and we can discuss other matters of academic interest. And he leaned forwards a bit and studies you. You see his eyes affixing yours very clinically.
Perhaps. First, I must report this success. There are people who are deeply invested in the research into the plague.
There is still the issue of the outlying favor, as it was a serious risk we all took to work with such dangerous elements, and indeed had we not provided that service, your very life might have been threatened.
Indeed. When I have assurances that my exsanguinated vitae has been destroyed, we can discuss recompense.
He affixes you with a more serious look. I cannot show you what we have already disposed of, Master Chamberlain. And regardless, the treatment has been provided.
Indeed it has. But, as you saw fit to excuse my assistant, I have no way of knowing whether or not a cabal of blood mages still retains ownership of my vitae. So long as I have no assurance that that is not the case, I see no way that I can, in good conscience, consider this anything other than a debt paid.
Thinking, would Quinn know that the Tremere can make use of blood after it's out of the body?
No? Possibly. Suspect? Strongly infer? Definitely. They are, after all, blood mages.
It's very new for the Tremere to be in cities, and not a great deal is known about them yet.
But they have a reputation as blood mages.
They're certainly developing one. Give me an intelligence, occult, standard difficulty to know that about the Tremere. It's not as commonly known as is in modern knights. Okay, fair enough. What evidence would you require, then, Master Chamberlain?
Surely you have skills with disciplines of the mind.
Indeed, we possess such skills. What do you imply?
I'm double-checking some things.
Okay. We turn briefly to Simon as this exchange is going on.
Simon keeps looking Quinn over, looking for any sign of the disease in him. Not that he'd know what it looked like, other than the gauntness.
The only thing that I would say that when he stripped, you saw the black marks that were developing across his body, and he's come out. He's still in this white shift, which is messy, but you're not seeing the black marks now.
Then Simon is satisfied with letting them deal. He doesn't want to get involved.
I would advocate an impartial third party. Allow the harpy Bella Matea to probe the mind of the assistant of her choosing from the procedure to confirm that my vitae has been properly disposed of.
Very well, Master Chamberlain, if that will satisfy your suspicions. Though perhaps you did not realize it is quite late in the evening. Perhaps this can wait until the morrow. I suspect you will be wanting to return before dawn.
Of course.
And he looks over towards one of the ghouls, who brings forward the clothes that you stripped out of.
Quinn's going to go ahead and change back into it, since these aren't spoiled by, hours of intensive surgery.
Alright, soon enough you are back in your clothes. And you estimate, just based on feel, there are perhaps, well, no, you haven't had time sense, you have not seen the outside. I don't think you have a really good idea of what time it is. Simon might. Perhaps.
How late is it?
It's gonna be dawn in a couple hours.
Then he will say,
We don't have long. We should get going.
Indeed. I have some final concerns to address.
You want I should wait outside?
Oh, no, I meant back at my estate.
Ah,
Quinn's going to go ahead and bow to Cole Masters.
He nods. I bid you a good evening, Master Chamberlain.
And may our future negotiations bear fruit.
He folds his hands together, and this woman who's been with him steps aside out of the way of the doorway, watching you carefully.
Quinn will gesture for whichever servant led them into the office to go ahead and do the reverse.
You see one of these black-cloaked ghouls lead you back through the hallways, back to the entrance where the shop is held. It's a guild of apothecaries filled with alchemical reagents. And before long, you are back outside. Do Simon and Quinn mean to return to the estate immediately?
That was my plan, but Quinn's going to stop as they exit and turn to Simon. You forgot to ask me about Mary.
blast it. I was too busy watching that woman. Did you see how she was looking at me?
Well, it's a wonder any woman can keep their hands too far from you, Simon.
How is Mary, then?
Mary's fine.
Glad to hear it.
I'm not completely certain that I'm not infectious, but I do have at least one way to find out.
You may not believe it by looking at this pretty face, but I'm furious.
None too pleased myself. The bastard changed the deal.
And in the most insidious way possible. I can't say what they've done to you for sure.
Nor can I. Part of why I wasn't ready to bow to their demands immediately. But I do have that dear sweet Cleansman back at the estate. He'll provide an effective test vessel.
Very well then, let us return.
Indeed. And Quinn will go ahead and lead the way.
Alright, the two of you make your way back through the streets, and for now the rain is let up. And you return, finding your estate much as it was. And you, the two of you just mean to return to... Oh, you meant to go to the cleanse, that's right. switch over to there. And Simon is following him right along into the downstairs.
Yes.
All right. So Quinn, you make your way back to your state and back downstairs, and sure enough, the man you left down there is still down there. Actually, that's not what I want. That's
When he's chained to a wall, he's not going far.
Yep. And he straightens up a bit as you enter. Not quite shivering, but definitely alert. More alert than he was. Good evening. Sorry, I fell asleep, sir.
Not to worry. I have a gift for you, but it's going to cost you.
I ain't got much, sir.
Oh, you have precisely what I need. Quinn's going to duck behind a screen briefly and pour a point. No. I have a better idea. He's going to prick his finger. Just a little. And drip it into a cup of water.
All right.
He's going to bring, yeah, he's going to bring it over to the man and help him in drinking it.
Oh, thank you, sir. Quite parched. And he drinks it readily.
Excellent. There's a good lad. I'm quite parched myself, as a matter of fact. You don't mind if I partake. Not a question.
He looks at you confused.
Quinn's just going to go ahead and feed on him.
All right, easy enough to do. He doesn't even struggle that much. You're close enough. And once you bite in, the kiss takes over and he just reclines. How much do you mean to take?
Just replacing the 2 that I spent earlier.
All right. So having fed, you see that he's much more woozy and lightheaded just by looking at him. What does Quinn mean to do next?
Heal that damn ag.
You certainly have the blood pool to do it. And Simon followed you down here, I believe, correct?
I would hope so.
Simon's just watching this with interest.
Quinn stretches a little bit, rubs the old burn as it fades. Oh, beginning to feel a bit more like myself again. I hate to admit it, but I might actually owe the trimmer something.
That's what I'm afraid of. So what are we going to do? Watch and see if he gets sick?
Precisely. He'll have 7 days. And I'll be blood bonding him throughout. While I won't know exactly which agent, which form of inoculation causes the infection, if he manifests the infection, it means the trimmer failed. As did I.
And what if he's clean and does survive? Are you going to keep him or...
I'll likely keep him. It will depend on how the blood bond affects him. At worst, he'll make an effective agent within the cleanse.
That much is certain. They won't expect that.
Though there will be the problem of explaining his extended absence.
The thing about lying, it's easy. You just have to know which switches to press.
Perhaps he was questioned in connection to one of the abductions conducted by the cleanse. City officials can be rather cruel.
Simon shrugs.
I'm sure whatever you come up with will be wonderful.
Simon, if I wanted someone to whisper sweet nothings in my ear, I'd pay a whore.
Ha! Just tell me what help you want.
When I
No.
know, I'll let you know.
Rest assured, I'll make it happen for you.
For the moment, you've been invaluable. All I'm interested in from you is news from Tristan.
No time to seek him out tonight, I'm afraid.
Unfortunately.
But there's always tomorrow.
Indeed. I feel like I could sleep the sleep of the dead.
Well, then I suppose you should retire. I'll watch this one for a while, see if anything unusual happens.
It could be days before he manifests. But as you like.
I don't get to look at many mortals up close anymore.
Lucky for me, if you were going to steal something from me or do something untoward, you would have done it by now. So I have no concern.
And likely you wouldn't have even known. But that is not my intention.
I knew that weeks ago.
Although I was eyeing that silver goblet you have in the parlor.
By all means.
He grins, but he'll take a seat on the floor in front of the unconscious human.
Quinn's going to find his way back into his little inner sanctum and curl up.
All right. Soon enough, you feel the dawn take you, and you go off to sleep. And Simon, you mean to stay there until you fall asleep?
No, once the dawn finally comes, he'll retreat to his chambers.
All right. We will change scenes as we leave here. We will switch it back to Tito Vega. Tito, you are finishing your conversation with Ellen Alice. You still have some time remaining. How long are you planning on spending there?
Well, how late is it?
At this point, it's not quite as late as it was. It's not as quite as late for you as it was for Quinn and Simon. They were up for hours and hours. I would say it's sometime after 2. And between the talking and the socializing you've been doing with a few different people, well, maybe you do see, maybe you don't see. Abel, you said you were coming to Elysium, didn't you?
Yes. Abel would like to show up at Elysium.
Alright. Is he coming in obfuscated or visible?
He will show up invisible. He's looking for a specific person named Tito Vega.
Alright. You enter invisible and you see that Tito is finishing speaking with someone.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was telling Abel that he saw you saw Tito finishing speaking with someone in one of these alcove booths. What does Abel intend to do now that he sees Tito is free?
Abel thinks that it is his lucky day and that fate must be smiling upon him. He will do a quick change around the curtain and put on his mask. Alright, yes, so Abel would like to, seeing that Tito is indeed in Elysium, do a sort of once around the curtain at the door to put on a mask.
Alright, go ahead and roll me a manipulation performance, difficulty 7. Alright, you're able to pull it off. You're still very ugly, but you're not monstrously ugly anymore.
Donning his new face, Abel will fold his hands into his robes and, if Tito looks available, approach him.
And does he have the same mask on that Tito saw in the past?
Yes, his go-to.
Okay.
White man with a brown hair and beard. Looks to be in Franciscan friar's robes, actually.
Alright. Tito, you see, looks like Abel has returned to Elysium.
Tito will greet Abel.
El Vega, just the man I wanted to see.
Sir Abel. Perhaps this is a fortuitous meeting then. You wish to speak in private?
Yeah, why don't we take a seat over there?
And Tito will begin heading over in that direction.
Abel will sit after Tito has already sat next to him instead of across from the table. Mein friend, how goes your evening?
Troubling.
Is that so?
Yes. Once again, I feel I cannot make sufficient headway.
Well then, perhaps there's something I can do to help?
Perhaps? Perhaps there's something you could.
You needn't decide right now. I'm sure you have ways of contacting me.
Where are you staying?
I assume Abel knows the name of the district or whatever.
Yes. If you want a name, I can give you one. We can say you gave him the name, otherwise I can look for it really quickly.
No, as long as he knows, his character knows.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with the area?
Yes, I've grown familiar with London. So I'll come calling if anything arises. But tell me, what did you wish to speak with me about?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Yeah, Vega. Abel steeples his fingers in front of him. I have heard and rumor that perhaps you are involved in, and he leans forward and whispers, Das Infernalism.
Involved?
Yeah, well, of course, they are just rumors, Herr Vega, and
I know you to be a decent man, but it would appear that you and our friend Simon were the last to speak with and know a known infernalist.
Aye. I warned Galfred, perhaps too late.
So you knew what he planned.
Well, when he began the ritual, and the figure came before us, most were struck with complete silence and fear. I mustered up the courage to tell him to forgo this deal he was going to make. He did not heed my warning.
And you say you were at the ritual?
Oh, yes. He had some plan of dealing with the prince.
And you did nothing to stop it?
At that point, I don't believe there's anything I could have done. I said my words, and he ignored. And then off he went. It was quite a terrifying experience. One that I believe has marked me for... I see a demon in my dreams now.
Abel perks an eyebrow at that. How very interesting.
Since you inquire so much, you must know something of this sort. My knowledge on demonology is not... well, it is not much to speak of.
I know enough to know that they are an affront to our Lord and Savior, and must be eradicated.
Nothing to ward against them.
May I roll for that knowledge?
I'm sorry, which knowledge? To ward against them?
Yes, to ward against demons.
If you know any way to ward them, like ward them off or fight them.
I assume he's asking to ward them from his dreams. That's at least the way Abel is taking it.
Yep.
Let me look at your sheet. Demonology is a very niche subject, even among an already difficult subject to study in the occult. I'll give you an intelligence occult difficulty 9.
Could I go biblical and do intelligence theology? Perhaps I know something from my days as a friar.
Okay, I'll give you intelligence theology, but it's still gonna be difficulty 9.
Alright.
You're not able to come up with anything substantial, just rumors that you are fairly certain don't actually work.
Hail Vega, there are rumors that you can ward them with this herb or that, but to really ward yourself is to give yourself over to God.
Yes, quite a problem for damned creatures such as us.
Abel smiles. I have no problem.
Well, we're seeking demons. I know where it was last seen flying. In its manifested form. Other than that, it has kept itself hidden. Save my dreams.
And do tell, where was he last?
Tito will recall the particular mountain range he was flying towards.
He was flying in the northwestern direction, away from the city. I don't know if I said mountain range or not. Maybe I did. You know for sure it went to the northwest, though.
Yes, another one came to hunt the demon. Unfortunately, she left after her ghoul perished. Kalia was her name.
Yes, that is a shame to lose such a close friend.
Yes, he was to be her child. It was unfortunate that he fell to the hands of the cleanse.
And not to delay our conversation, but what does this demon do in your mind, in your dreams, El Vega?
What all demons do, they tempt. True, it has impressive power, but I know of a more primordial power, greater. I need not its offers.
That is good to hear. El Vega, stay strong and resist this demon. We shall soon strike him back to hell.
Comforting words. I have much to deal with these nights, so one less worry is appreciated.
I will pray for you.
My thanks.
And I do apologize for how brash this conversation was. I hope it did not feel too much as an interrogation.
Not too much. I will be touched, for I suspect your abilities at stealth will be highly useful in our investigation.
And what are we investigating? Still the good doctor?
No, not only the good doctor. Marco has become all too suspicious.
Correct me if I am wrong. That is... Actually, I don't know if Abel knows that Marco's the one that sent them all to get the head of the cleanse guy.
I believe he would. I believe that was mentioned.
Alright. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but was he not the one that sent us after that father?
Yes, Father Juan. He delivered it, Father Juan, much too easily, and it has only boosted his own status.
And we must ask ourselves, why even get us involved? He clearly had it handled. Though I am certain he cares not of my involvement, nor Simon's. Yes.
But he was actually seeking the aid of a Nosferatu. For what reason, I am not certain.
I will clarify that the status he gained for clearing the Masquerade was because of your work framing the leper and the sanitation worker. He never actually claimed anything regarding the capture of the cleanse guy. Father Juan Felipe.
In the meanwhile, I believe he may be hiding the doctor we are searching for. Perhaps some espionage, some tailing of his servants would lead to the good doctor.
You have only to say the word, and perhaps the servant's name.
I've acquired a few names, but locations are what I need to come by. I will let you know if I learn anything.
Very good. It has been an enlightening conversation, Herr Vega. But I fear our time draws close to dawn.
Indeed, Sir Abel. Wish you well these nights.
Gute Nacht, mein Freund.
And Tito will get up to leave, having exhausted all that he's wished to talk to this night.
All right. And Abel returning to Haven, or?
Yes, Abel will return to his haven.
All right. We will switch from this scene. And there's one more thing that's going to happen before we close out early. I'm going to switch scenes as we follow Abel. Abel, you are making your way back home, and you have basically made it outside the door to your haven in this small home that Bella Matea provided. And you're just at the doorway when you hear a voice from nearby. Nice haven you have here. You recognize the haggard voice of Tristan. You see a dark, skulking form move closer to you from down one of the alleys.
Ah, Herr Tristan. I did not expect your visit so late.
This was once Bella Matea's, if I do recall. He says, taking a few steps forward.
Yeah, Bella was kind enough to help my sire get me settled here.
The scriptorium was a nice touch. Useful skill to trade in for coin. You're doing well in embedding yourself in the city, Abel.
Abel turns his whole body to Tristan now, having been talking over his shoulder beforehand, and gives a slight bow. Dankeschön, Herr Tristan. But you did not come this far to tell me I'm doing a good job.
No, I didn't. I notice you don't scare easy. I saw that last night. That can help you, but it can also hurt you. But I'm not here to lecture you or frighten you. I thought I would pass something along. Something Simon described about that disease rang a bell for me last night. So I did some digging on old texts that I've collected over the centuries. Thought I might find you sooner, but such is unlife. I'll be fine getting back in the sewers before dawn.
And what did you find?
There was a report, a long time back, by an old associate of my sire, who passed through the Levant and exchanged stories with some cainites coming out of the Dark Continent in the far south, beyond the land of the Moors. They described seeing a similar disease. And he folds his long and spindly fingers together, looking up and down the alleyway. They spoke of cainite tribes in the jungled regions, bleeding from every orifice in their body, as if they were liquefying from the inside out. They said it came from an ancient vampire that spread disease in its wake. No name, no known lineage, just brutal and violent death among the kind. He studies you for a moment.
Abel tries to keep a straight face, but upon hearing this, there's a slight look of worry to it. And you think that these are connected? Certainly, they seem to be from the way they die. Though, are the kind dying here like that?
The kind are not, but at least one vampire is. But he was a Bruja by the name of Ford. I've looked and looked. I have not found any other report of any disease killing like this before, except for this. None of the cainites were dying from this other story, but they had to flee into Egypt. No clean blood remained. I suspect if this ancient vampire is somehow related, maybe the disease is related. I'm not sure, but I know that I don't have all the pieces all the time. I want to ensure that you pass this along to Simon in the interest of reconnecting our network. Maybe he has pieces that can put this together.
I shall gladly confer with Simon. I am to meet him on the morrow, and I shall report back to you what we have figured out.
He nods. Say, you don't happen to read Aramaic by chance, do you?
Yeah, I do. It has been a while, but one never forgets.
That might be needed soon. Have you heard the suspicion around Ambrose and that text that may have came out of the tower?
I have heard whisperings of the text, I believe. Do you have a copy of it?
No, unfortunately not. They're being quite protective about the whole thing. I haven't been able to get near it or hear much about it, except that Ambrose is looking for someone who can read and write in Aramaic. If you possess that skill set, maybe you could find out for us what he's looking at, or why he wants that.
Very good. Put forward my name if you speak with him. I don't know that he would see me on my own.
I'll pass it along if I see him before you. And he turns and begins walking further into the alley, abruptly, his form blending into the dying light until he's almost imperceptible. But you hear him echo back through the walls. Hope to hear of your progress on the investigation next time we meet. And then he's just gone.
Abel will quickly take the key from his pocket, unlock his door, and enter his haven, closing it and pressing his back up against the door as he lets out a sigh, a very uncharacteristic and human-like emotion.
What's going through Abel at this moment?
Having met Vernon this evening, Abel is unsure if Tristan is trustworthy. Certainly Vernon isn't quite all right, but perhaps this blind faith he put in this Nosferatu primogen is misplaced, especially if he's coming up with these random and ancient facts that might just help, though they don't do much to actually assist. As if he was trying to throw the gang off his trail.
Alright. Then Abel means to simply go to sleep for the remaining hour or less of the night.
Probably work on whatever manuscript he might need to make some money, but yeah.
Alright, you're able to put in some time before dawn forces you into sleep. Inevitably, you do fall asleep. And at that point, we will end the scene and end our session early because you need to go to bed.
I very much appreciate this, guys.
Of course.